gosh, look at this. What a sight. This is so exciting. I'm so thrilled to be here. This is a very critical year. And by the way, I am actually now, well, first I should introduce my wife, Debbie D'Souza. And so I'm now, I live part-time in California, and I'm a part-time Texan. Someone said there's no such thing as a part-time Texan. You know, 4 years ago, I made the film about Obama, 2016 Obama's America, and that was a film about one guy, Barack Obama. And Obama was, at least at the beginning, not so much now, an intriguing guy. People didn't know a lot about him. He came out of nowhere. And so you could make a movie about this outsider to American politics. Now, the challenge for me was, how do you make a movie about Hillary Clinton? Hillary Clinton is not an intriguing person. Hillary Clinton is a known national nuisance. She's been with us for decades. She's been up to her racket since the Arkansas days. And so she's a chronic, almost pathological liar. She even lied about where she got her name. She goes, I was named after the mountain climber Sir Edmund Hillary, except that Hillary climbed Everest years after Hillary was born. So she couldn't have been named after him. So the challenge of making a movie about Hillary is, how do you make such a movie interesting? Well, I think what's interesting is not so much Hillary, but the whole progressive movement of the Democratic Party that knows that Hillary is a crook, almost a gangster, and yet they push her forward. They know it. Now, why would they do that? Why would a good party knowingly nominate a crook? It's one thing to say that someone turns out to be a crook later, but if you know in advance, what does it say about your character that you would push such a person forward? Now, the Democratic Party has had quite a history. Many of us, even in this room, don't know that history because it's been camouflaged. It's been camouflaged. It's been camouflaged by the progressives who dominate academia and the media. And the Democratic Party has had a sordid strain that has run through its history from the very beginning. Now, the Democratic Party in the 19th century was emphatically the party of slavery. It defended slavery both in the North and in the South. After the Civil War ended, the Democratic Party became the party of segregation and Jim Crow. Every segregation law was passed by the Democratic legislature, signed by Democratic governors. The Democratic Party was also the party of the Ku Klux Klan. I don't just mean that a Democrat started the Klan, I mean that the Ku Klux Klan was the terrorist arm of the Democratic Party for 40 years. The Democratic Party was also the party of forced sterilization, sympathy for fascism in the 1930s. And people say, what? What do you mean? Well, a young JFK went to Nazi Germany in the 1930s. He came back absolutely excited about one Adolf Hitler. Called him a legend. He said that the opposition to Hitler was mainly based on jealousy. He said that Hitler claims that the Nordic people are superior because they are. They are. FDR was full of praise for Mussolini, thought he was fantastic, and sent members of his brain trust to study Italian fascism so he could bring it here. This wasn't a one-way admiration society. Mussolini reviewed FDR's book and said, FDR's one of us, he's a fascist. Now, after World War II, with the odor of the Holocaust hanging over all this, the progressives go, oops, we gotta clean all this up, we gotta take it out of the record, we gotta remove it from the textbooks. We don't want people finding out about all this. Here's what I'm saying. I think it's a great mistake that we as Republicans and conservatives have allowed the left to tell the story of America. And what they have done with diabolical ingenuity is take all the crimes that they did, and blame them on the people in this room. That's what they've done. In other words, some of you saw my film America 2 years ago. I was defending America against these charges. America broke treaties with the Indians. America enslaved African Americans. America did this and America did that. Wait, if America did all these things, they'd still be going on. But some Americans did them and other Americans stopped them. To borrow a phrase from Trump, the crooked ingenuity of the Hillary Democrats has been to take the crimes of the Democratic Party and blame them on the South, on the Republican Party, and on America. So here we are in a critical election. And I don't know if, I feel reluctant in saying this, but the people in this room, in a sense, are what stands between the Hillary Democrats and the sort of demolition, the disintegration of the American dream. It's a heavy responsibility for Texas to bear. But look, if Boston is the intellectual capital of America, if DC is the political capital, if New York is the financial capital, if LA is the entertainment capital, if San Francisco is the high-tech capital, that is the domain of the left. The Democratic Party is strong in all those areas on both coasts. And what is standing between them and a full takeover of America? I don't know if it fills you with exuberance or a sense of foreboding, but by tragic necessity, this responsibility is now yours. Now, we're trying to help. I've been a writer and speaker most of my career, and I've realized that that's an effective way to lay out an argument. But if you want to reach a lot of people and change them from within, you want a weapon that can actually change minds and hearts. Not just to fire up and unify Republicans, but to also persuade the guy on the fence, and to take people on the other side. Latinos, African Americans, diehard Democrats, and show them that the narrative that they've been given is actually a big lie. That's what our movie tries to do. And so we're unleashing this movie this Friday. It's going to open in 1,500 theaters around the country. And I want Texas to get behind the movie. This is a movie that can do wonders in the state of Texas. To reach people that the Republican Party has traditionally not reached, because it tells a story not only to the mind. It's one thing to tell someone, this is the voting rolls on the Civil Rights Act of '64. More Republicans voted for it than Democrats. It's another thing to show this dramatically, narratively, emotionally. Hollywood tells its stories through narrative. And so we've done it. We've produced this messaging, if you will, but we don't have the ability to get it out as widely as it needs to get out, but you do. And I think if Texas does things with this movie and shows it can be done, you can get other states to look at that, look at the Texas model as well. In other words, Texas needs to take a leadership role in showing the way for the Republican Party of the future. This is a great party. When I was a young Reaganite in the 80s, I used to say I'm a Republican, but I'm a conservative, but I'm not a Republican. Because I thought the Republican Party was sort of like the Lions Club, and the Democratic Party was like the Kiwanis Club. But the more I've learned, the more I realize is that the Republican Party is the party of emancipation. It's the party that fought segregation. It's the party that stood up for equal rights and human rights. It's the party that represents the ladder of opportunity. Both Debbie, my wife, and I are immigrants to this country, and I think a country is judged not by how it takes care of its people at the top, But what measures it makes for people who are starting at the bottom to come up the ladder? That ladder represents the American dream. Texas is a land of big skies and big dreams. We have made a big movie. Please help us get the word out. Thank you very much.
How many people in the room saw the movie yesterday? Alright, so by a round of applause for those that saw it, would you say that it was worthwhile to go see it? I really encourage you. It's very enlightening. The amount of racism that the Democratic Party was established on and still continues on today. Many of you may not know that 72% of the pregnancies in the black community are ending in abortion, and most of the Planned Parenthood clinics are in the black community. So it's a great movie. I really strongly recommend it. So let's shift gears a little bit here, and then we're going to do this on the fly. I mean, some of this we're adjusting our agenda as we go along. But we have a very special speaker that's going to come up next. He is the Senior Vice President of Product Support for Toyota Motor North America, which is based in Plano. Where the company is in the process of unifying its North American headquarters. In his role, he oversees a number of functions, including quality, North American vehicle operations, which consist of production planning and control, vehicle distribution operations and logistics operations, service parts and accessories, Toyota Production Support Center, and Operations Management Development Center. This guy sounds busy. Very, very busy. He's a native of Warren, Michigan, but he got to Texas as quick as he could. He received a Bachelor of Science degree in Industrial Engineering from Kettering University in Flint, Michigan. He serves on the Board of Directors for the Dallas Regional Chamber. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Chris Nielsen from Toyota.
Well, good morning, my fellow Texans. I'm certainly ready. I got here just as quick as I possibly could. Tom, thanks so much for that kind introduction. And let me start by echoing Tom's words and sending our thoughts and prayers to Governor Abbott for her quick and speedy recovery. Thanks to the Republican National Committee, and especially the Texas Republican Party, for the opportunity to be with you this week. You know, as new Texans, we're especially proud to be here with all of you, building relationships and putting down our roots in our new home state. Now, speaking of new, I think you already know our story well. But just to recap briefly, we announced in 2014 that we'd be establishing our new headquarters in Plano, Texas, unifying several different headquarter locations from across the country. And in doing that, we'd be bringing 4,000 jobs to Texas. And to house those 4,000 new Texans, we're building a state-of-the-art 2 million square foot headquarters facility. Now we're doing this to unify our company, to become stronger, so that we can continue to have the success that we've had the past 60 years in the United States, for our next 60 years going forward. We chose Texas for a number of reasons, including an outstanding business climate, low cost of living for our team members, excellent schools, and available high-quality workforce, to name just a few. Those of you who all know very, very well. Now we're 2+ years into this, so let me tell you a little bit about how we're doing so far. Already, over 750 of our team members have relocated to our temporary offices in Plano, and by the end of next month, we'll have over 1,000 new Texans. And that's only going to grow because we are just now beginning our local hiring, and we'll continue that throughout this year and into next year. And we just topped off the last of our 7 new office buildings at our campus, and we're scheduled to complete construction and move in just about a year from now. Now, those that have already moved couldn't be more happy, and they share at least 3 things in common. First, they love their new neighbors, that incredibly welcoming Texas spirit. Secondly, they're really impressed with the quality of our schools. And third, they all know that it's really hot in Texas in the summer. But you know, while our new headquarters is new to Texas, Toyota is certainly not new. Gulfspace Toyota out of Houston has been our distributor here for over 50 years. And for over 13 years now, we've operated our pickup truck manufacturing plant in San Antonio. Now, you know, I had the honor to lead that plant for 4 years as president, and I can tell you that there's no better workforce of any Toyota plant in the entire world than those proud Texans that build over 1,000 pickup trucks in You know, that's something we're awfully proud of, and you can be proud of as well. And I can also tell you that from that plant to our new headquarters in Plano, we've always had one thing that we can depend on, and that's the tremendous and unwavering support of federal, state, and local officials from the great state of Texas. That support is greatly appreciated by us each and every day, and it makes it clear to us that we've made the absolute right decision in calling Texas our new home. So thank you once again, all the best for a very successful convention this week. I know our team will look forward to seeing you throughout this week and for many, many years to come. Thanks again.
These are the lists of all of our sponsors, so like I said, if you have a chance to thank them individually, please do so. Next up would be somebody that I think a few of y'all may have met before. He's the president of Wall Builders, David Clark. Is going to come up. So I don't know, I don't wear a hat very often, but I certainly don't want to do it wrong when I'm at a convention. David has graciously agreed to come up and help us understand the proper way to do that. And we're national television, we certainly don't want to make a mistake in that part. So, David, would you come up for a few minutes? Thank you.
Something you get a chance to every 4 years wear one, so let me give you some rules on it. There's only a couple of rules for ladies. For ladies, hat stays on all the time. Stays on during the prayer, stays on during the pledge, stays on during the national. Now, if it's a baseball hat, you take that off. But a cowboy hat stays on for ladies all the time. The other thing is if you get pins, ladies wear the pins on the right side of the hat, guys wear the pins on the left side of the hat. He said we exchange pins with another delegation. That's the 2 rules for ladies. For guys, there's about 6 rules that you need to know about. The first one is that if you're in public, you can wear a hat. If you're in private, you take it off. So if you go into somebody's room, you go into somebody's office, you go into a reception room, not a big public reception, but someone to meet someone, hat comes off. Other than that, public, where we're going to be in the arena, or we're going to be on TV, hat stays on for guys. The second thing for guys is at times of prayer, guys take hats off. And if you go into a Christian church, you take it off. And if you go into a Jewish synagogue, you leave your hat on. You don't take it off in Jewish synagogues, the other way around. But in a Christian church or a prayer in public, hat comes off. You can put it at your side, you can put it across you, however you want. Always, don't ever show the inside of your hat. You always show the outside of the hat. So when you take it off, hold it down at your side, show in the front. You always show the back side of the hat. Third thing is patriotism. Anything related to patriotism, hat comes off. So when they walk the flags in, as the flags approach, you take your hat off. When we do pledges, hat comes off on pledges. National anthem, even God Bless America, hats come off. So patriotism. The fourth thing is anytime you meet ladies, you either doff your hat, completely take it off, or you raise your hat, you can lift it and put it back on. But meeting, greeting ladies, talking to ladies, hat comes off, or you, again, either doff or lift. The next one is as a sign of respect. If a guy meets any president, meets President Netanyahu or Prime Minister Netanyahu, anybody that you show a sign of respect, hat comes off, even the guy to guy. So you meet President Bush, you meet Prime Minister Netanyahu, hat comes off, sign of respect. U.S. Senator, hat comes off, sign of respect. Then the last one is, again, Pence, go on the left side for guys, right side for ladies. And final thing is, and we get this every year, I hate to say it, it's embarrassing to say it, label goes on the back of the hat. That's what the hat is.
So if somebody sees me with my hat on backwards, would you please graciously say, hey, turn you got it backwards, instead of saying, hey, you can tell he's an Aggie. I'm an Aggie. Can we just pause and sing the Aggie for him? So our next speaker is somebody who is, which you may not know, for his history. He's a very, very special person to the Republican Party of Texas. And I tell you that because when Steve Minister was elected in 2010, we began to see considerable success at fundraising. A lot of people may not know that before 2010, the party really struggled financially. And there was a great concern that the State House of Representatives was going to go over into the Democrat side. Let one man step up and raised money like no one had ever done before. And raised, I think, over $5 million for this, not just for to help our party, but also to help our candidates and to establish a victory in 2008. It's actually started in 2007. As former Secretary of State, he was elected to Congress in CD 25. Would you please join my good friend Roger Williams?
People stood up for me, they left the room. So now we all love David Barton. David just told us how to wear a hat. He said, take the hat off the president, take the hat off the senator. He didn't say anything about taking the hat off the Congress. Leave it on. Before I get started, I just want to also remind everybody that we must continue to pray for our law enforcement more than ever. Pray for Governor Abbott on his speedy return. I want to tell you a quick story. I got on the, most of you know, we travel back and forth all the time between Washington and home. And the other night I got on the airplane, and I was actually with the governor, I was actually late. And I had to almost shut the door before I got on. I got on, sat down, didn't even have time to take my coat off, and we took off. And we were up in the air about 20 minutes. The lady sitting next to me put her hand on my arm, and she said, sir, may I ask you a question? I said, sir. She said, that pin that you have on, is that FBI? And I said, as I should, yes ma'am it is. And she said, well that's good, because I thought you were a congressman. You know, I think all of you would agree with me when I say this, that America is the greatest country in the world today. Amen. Would you agree with me? You also will agree with me when I say Texas is the greatest state in America. So the way I got this figured out, that America is the greatest country in the world, and Texas is the greatest state in America, then Texas must be the best place in the world to live, grow up, raise, and have a good life. And let's keep it that way about every Republican and conservatives in November of this year. Now, let me quickly remind you, I am Roger Williams, representing Congressional District 25. I'm a Christian conservative, pro-life, Second Amendment grassroots taxpayer. Every one of you. I also believe marriage is between a man and a woman. No federal funding for Planned Parenthood. You need to go to the bathroom, they told you to go to the bathroom when you were born. But most important, very important election. Haven't we all heard as we're growing up, this is the most important election we've ever had? We've all heard that. But this really is. And it's a pretty simple formula. If we vote, we win. If we don't, we lose. Pure and simple. And this is about a lot of things. This is about national security. This is about worldwide security. It's about a person that says, well, what difference does it make? Or is it about somebody that knows what difference it makes? It's also about having the highest tax rates in the world and wondering why businesses leave. The highest tax rates in the world. Hillary Clinton will continue to raise those taxes. She has a 90% tax rate waiting on us. So she'll raise those taxes. Donald Trump will lower the taxes, put more people to work, help Main Street America come back. It's about health care. Is the government going to own our health care? Is the government going to own our future? Is the government going to own our body? Or do we need to own our body? Do we need to own our health care? We know Hillary Clinton, she wants to own everything. Donald Trump will put the health care back in the private sector registry. You know, under Hillary Clinton, we'll have no energy policy. You know, her energy policy is to sell electric cars, but don't cut out the coal, even though the coal represents 50% of our electricity. Or is it turned over to the private sector and let the private sector decide what form of energy we use? Donald Trump will do that. Or is it about totally dismantling our military? You know, if America does not stay the superpower in the world militarily, the world will implode. And we're seeing it right before our very eyes. I have the honor along with Congressman John Carter in representing Fort Hood, Texas. The great place, as we call it. Where today 47,000 young men and women, the best and brightest we've got, are training to fight for this country at a time's notice for freedom and liberty for all. And we need to tell them that. After Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, we've seen our army go from a 1 million two-man army to 420,000 man army. We've gone from 7,000 tanks to 2,000 tanks. We've gone from having, we know we have the greatest pilots in the world that used to fly every single day. Now in many cases they fly 3 days a week because we can't get parts for certain airplanes to fly. That's what's happened under Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. This next election is to decide who's going to build our military back. Who's going to build our military back where we cannot be aggressors, but we can certainly be defenders of freedom and liberty. Donald Trump will do that. Or how about telling the VA and the veterans we love them? Yes. To the Congress. Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and all their crew says it's like waiting in Disneyland when you go stand in line at the VA. Isn't that unbelievable? We need to tell our veterans we love them. We need to give them better care. Frankly, they need to go to the doctors who do not go see every single day and get the great health care with. Under Hillary Clinton, we'll continue to see 100,000 kids a year in Texas alone drop out of school in the 9th grade. That's a tragedy. And they're dropping out of school because they are losing hope. And nobody should ever lose hope in America. And nobody should ever lose hope in Texas. But under Hillary Clinton, we will continue to see that slide. Under Donald Trump, we'll talk about community colleges. We'll talk about trade schools. We'll talk about the opportunity to do great things. We'll talk about the American dream as opposed to the American scheme, which is what we see every day. And then it's about a $19 trillion debt. It's about driving our country totally in debt that we may never be able to recover from. Hillary Clinton will continue to do that. Just make money, print money, tax everybody. Let the government own everything. Let people have to reach out to the federal government because that's all that's left. We're going down a bad path. Donald Trump and conservatives will continue to stop raising the debt, cut expenses. I got an idea. How about cutting out the Department of Education for a change? Donald Trump will do that. It's also about who's going to make the right decision. You know, as conservatives, and I've tried to do this, We make decisions based on fairness. So there's a word. There's a word that Barack Obama has hijacked, and don't be afraid to use it. You know, fairness to him, to Hillary Clinton, fairness is a guarantee. But fairness to us is an opportunity. So it's all about fairness. It's all about family values, limited government, strong defense, lower taxes, quality education, conservative judges. That's where our country needs to go. It's not going to go that way under Hillary Clinton. It will go that way under Donald Trump. It's also who's going to read the Constitution and see what it says and not make up what it says. Donald Trump will do that. Who's going to look at the Congress and say, you know what? I think I'll make a decision that might not be good politically, but it's real good for America. We need people like that. Hillary Clinton won't do that. What's good for this country, and make the decision. And also make the decision to read the book that will tell you how to fix all problems. It's the Bible. So if Donald Trump and all of us will stick with the Constitution, stick with our conscience, and read the Bible, America will be back quicker than most people think. So here's the deal. You've heard the chairman talk about why we need to be supporting our candidate. In many cases, I disagree with our candidate more than I agree with him. But he is our guy. And it's about a lot of things. But it's about pitting groups against individuals. We're seeing it every single day, aren't we? You know, you went to school, you didn't go to school. You're rich or poor, you're black or white. Pitting groups, putting people in groups is the mantra of the Democratic Party. Because when you're in a group, you have to reach out again to the federal government to get your help. Groups didn't create America. Groups didn't create America, but strong individuals created America. Individual freedom, individual responsibility, individual opportunity created America. And we're fighting groups against America, right? Groups against individuals like we've never seen before in our lifetime. And we have got to we've got to understand that. We've got to beat that down. And then we're fighting socialism versus capitalism. Don't be afraid to say Hillary Clinton is a socialist. She is a socialist. And so is Barack Obama. They want to own the banks. They want to own the car manufacturers. They want to own everything. Okay? It's socialism versus capitalism, the greatest system in the world. How many people do we see getting in a boat off the coast of America and going somewhere? They don't. They all come here to realize the American dream, to realize great opportunities for their family and their future. Capitalism, the greatest system in the world. You invest 100, you make 100. You invest 100, you lose 100. That's what we fight for every single day. We're under attack right now. So it is socialism versus capitalism. And then it's help versus hope. We're trying to give everybody help. People don't want help, they want hope. They want hope in this country. Hope that they can do great things. And it is help against hope. So in the end, what we have to do to all of our friends and look at our hearts is we're literally running out of time. November will be here before you know it. Remember when Mom and Dad can say 20 years from now it's going to look like this? Or 10 years, we can't tell our kids and grandkids that. 4 or 5 months from now it's going to look like this. So what we've got to understand is that we have all got to decide during this election, are we going to be sheep or are we going to be shepherds? What are we going to be? Are we going to be pretenders or are we going to be contenders? Are we going to be students of the game or are we going to go out there and play the game? Or in the end, are we going to be a victim or are we going to be a patriot? That's the question we have to ask. Where are we? And you know, I believe that the future of this country is totally in the very palms of our hands. Every one of us, it is the palm of our hand. And in many cases, we're seeing it slip through our fingers as we speak. But the future and the success of this country is right there. You know, you put a tennis racket in Venus Williams' hands, it wins tournaments. You put it in my hands, it doesn't do anything. You put a golf club in, say, Phil Mickelson's hands, it wins a lot of tournaments. In my hands, I can hit the sidelines. And you put a baseball in Nolan Ryan's hands, and it wins nothing but games and strikes out people. In my hands, it didn't go so good. But what I'm trying to say is, that America, in the hands of Texans, is an America that will succeed forever for generations to come, forever and ever. It is in our hands. Remember what Winston Churchill said in 1943. He said, in every man or woman's life there comes a moment when you're tapped on the shoulder to do something great. What a shame it would be for that tap to come and you not be ready for that moment of greatness. We all remember 9/11, but we also remember 9/16. That night when we're sitting in our living room, and who came into our living room but President Bush? And what he said was this: we will not falter, we will not fail. We have been tested. We will pass this test. And in our lifetime, we always look at it that we must plant a tree that will never stand under. 1 Corinthians tells us that in our lifetime you must lay a foundation and set a cornerstone. And Luke 6:38 reminds us that a good measure will be given to you, pressed down, shaken together, put in your lap. For the measure you give will be the measure you get back. And I would submit to all of us today, as Americans, as Texans, and people that love this country and what we stand for, we need to quit trying to predict the stupid future. We need to go out there and invent the future. And you go further back in history, to 1778, that winter when George Washington pulled those troops out of Valley Forge, and they left barefoot on the ice. And then you move forward in American history, we had brothers killing brothers in the Civil War. We had 30% unemployment during the Depression. We lost and had injured over a million men and women, the best and brightest we had to offer. Were the world wars, and then we had Korea, we had Vietnam, and we had 9/11, and all that's happened today. And you go back at each one of those events, and those people living in those times, Americans stood up and said, I'm going to make my country better than it was before this event. I believe this is our generation's Valley Forge. Right now, we got to get it right. Mount Rushmore. We've all been to Mount Rushmore, but what does Mount Rushmore say? You know, you've got George Washington looking at us, and he's saying, let's create a country that's second to none, that people come from all over the world to realize great things. And you got Thomas Jefferson looking at him and saying, hey, that's great, George, but we got to do one other thing. We're going to create these states. We got to give these states opportunity to do things. We got to let them shine. And then you got Teddy Roosevelt looking at him and saying, wait a minute, guys. God's given us a lot of great things. He's given us streams. He's given us mountains. He's given us great opportunities for the environmental improvement of this country. We've got to be careful. What was he saying? He was saying, drill, baby, drill. That's what he was saying. And then you got Abraham Lincoln looking at all of them, who said in 1863, America is the last great hope in the world today. And it was true when he said it. And it's true today. And it'll be true tomorrow. We'll elect Donald Trump, the 45th President of the United States of America. Let me just say this. Remind yourself this. The words well said are not nearly as powerful as the words well done. We've got to go out there and do it. And the book of John reminds us that you can catch more fish from the right side of the boat than you can the left. So we need to go fishing. We need to go fishing and make sure we win every single election from the county courthouse, city level, right on to the White House in November. So let me just say this in closing. Thank you again for having me. We are on the pathway to the future, not the pathway to the past. We can do it. We vote, we win. We don't, we lose. May God bless all of you. May God bless His country. May God bless our soldiers. May God bless our first responders. And may God bless the greatest state in America, the one we come to call Texas. Thank you very much. Needs no introduction. That's when you know you're important, when you need no introduction. But I want to take advantage of it to introduce a friend of mine, a friend of yours, a friend of the United States. A person who understands retail, who went and sold Texas to America like nobody's business, who gave me an opportunity to go with him as Secretary of State and sell this great state to America. He's a veteran, he's a family man, he's a great Texan, he's a fighting Texas ag, and that's hard coming from all of you, okay? But he's my buddy, he's your buddy. I hope great things are ahead for him as all of you do. Would you please stand and honor our former Texas governor who made Texas great and kept Texas great, the Honorable Rick Perry.
Mr. Secretary, Congressman, great and dear friend, TCU Harm Frog extraordinaire, thank you for all you've done for our state. You're a great American. I look across this crowd and I think about how many of you held your hand up at certain times over that period of time that I had the great privilege to serve you in Austin, Texas, and said, "Here am I, send me." How many of you in this audience served the state as an appointee to the state of Texas during that period of time? Hold your hand. Yeah, and there were a lot of you. Thank you for that. Another congressman, secretary of states in here, judges, people who served on the boards of regents of our great university system, just one after another, people who love their state. And as Roger was reflecting about who we are and a time such as this, and why it's so important for us to be here at this national convention, to be wearing our red, white, and blue, because that is the color of the future. The world needs an America that is strong, that is stable, that is powerful. And that's exactly what we're going to give. The world can take a step back. The world can take a deep breath, if you will. Because the America that freed more people than any other country in the world is on the verge of being great again. We're on the verge of being that place where a tyrant or a terrorist group comes and attacks an ally. They know that very soon the wrath of Almighty God will come down upon their heads, and America will make a difference in their life, and America will be there to defend them and that's what this election is really all about. There's some seriousness about what we're all about here today. Yeah, we're going to have a good time. I'm pretty sure if I have yet to meet the state that had a better time at a national convention than the state of Texas. And nobody ever gets confused about who we are. Last night I was having dinner with a fellow and he said, it's kind of one of those things you don't ever ask an individual if they're from Texas. He says, because if they're from Texas, they'll have already told you. And if they're not, you don't want to embarrass them. Nobody has to ask where the Texas delegation is. It's kind of like the reason motorcycles are loud. That's for the benefit of those that don't see them. And that's kind of the way we are. And I hope people take it in the right way. That we're that way because we believe in this country. We're that way because we understand the importance that the values and the philosophy that's been projected in the state of Texas. You know, from time to time, people may think that we are braggadocious. And that's okay. But my dad always told me, he said, son, if you can do it, it ain't bragging. And that's the story about Texas that we're trying to share with the rest of the country. And I hope we're doing it in a way that they realize we're doing it to make this country stronger. The policies that were put into place in our state over the course of the last decade plus have been because we know they work. There were people that came up and said time after time, if you pass that tort reform, now generally these were personal injury trial lawyers, they said if you pass that tort reform back in 2003, the state will be affected in a way that you can't imagine. There aren't going to be any doctors. People won't be able to have health care. And you all know the truth, and America knows the truth, and the world knows the truth now. Is that all across our great state, people have access to health care that didn't have it before. You know, the left wants to go on and on about, oh, you don't have enough people under insurance. I've never seen insurance be the answer to people's health care. What's the answer to health care is for people to have access to good quality health care. And we do that day in and day out. We do it because of Republican leadership, Roger, that stood up and faded the heat and did what was right. That's what leadership is really all about. Standing up and doing what's right even when sometimes it may not be popular. Nobody got confused back in the late 2000s when Texas led the nation in job creation. Because we put tax policy and regulatory policy and legal policies and public school policies in place. There was one point in time when Texas created more jobs than the rest of the country combined. I never did get the call from President Obama to thank me for that when he always we talk about, you know, how well the economy's doing. It's kind of, yeah, Texas. But the key is we do these things and we do them to give a reflection for other states. We do it because we're competitive. And being competitive is a good thing. You know, I don't know how this idea that somehow or another everybody's the same. And that we don't have to be competitors out there. You know, can't we just all, you know, sing Kumbaya and it's all good? And the fact of the matter is, competition is what makes you stronger. That may make you uncomfortable. And I'm pretty sure any of you that have been involved in trying to get yourself back in shape realize there's a little discomfort that can go along with that from time to time. But I want states to compete against each other. I want our federal government. Roger, one of the things that I talked to Donald Trump about was making sure that sitting in the White House in January 2015 is an individual and a team that totally understands the concept of the 10th Amendment, why our founding fathers put that in place, why it became part of that Bill of Rights. Because they were amazingly visionary. That document that they wrote, that the left will take apart. I mean, when you have a Supreme Court justice that's willing to tell you, we're going to basically dismantle things that have been put into this place by our country, it ought to give every one of you pause. And it takes me directly to why this election is so important. Listen, there are going to be people walk across this stage and that main stage out there. We're going to talk about a host of different issues. We're going to cover the watershed from now through Friday. You'll hear a little bit of everything. You'll hear people standing on the side of the street, discussing, dissecting, debating the issues of the day. There will be hair splitting like you can't imagine. They'll be talking about why other people ought to be our nominee. Hell, Donald Trump wasn't my first choice. I was not first choice. Every year. It's been since 1940, right? But my point is that we're going to hear all of these different things, and people are going to say, well, but if just this, I'd be more engaged. I'd be more into it. Here's what I want to ask you to do. I want you to keep the simplicity of the moment. I want you to think about what's really at stake. Donald Trump or Mike Pence may not agree with me 100% of the time. But having served you as governor for 14 years, not many of you agree with me 100%. That was okay. We knew where we were going. We knew what our final destination was. To create a place where people long to live, where freedom reigned, where our children had a better opportunity. That is what is at stake. The simplicity of this moment could not be clearer. Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, the Supreme Court. That is what is at hand, my friends. That is what we need to be focused on. The America cannot be great again. Hillary Clinton's going to decide that slot that Justice Scalia had. And maybe choose a couple more Supreme Court appointees. That's what's at hand. We're seeing signals about where this administration will go.